episode 7.
Are you sure it's not 6?
It's a completion number.
A microphone falling down.
After creation and rest after creation came the 7th day, and God rested. Hope you're feeling restful this week, as it's been a little bit chilly outside, as we've gotten the first big snow of the year on November the 10th.
A whole big 2.5 inches.
Yeah, whole big 2.5 inches. So
what is that like?
It's a lot more in wet snow accumulation than...
Is that 2.5?
But something. I don't know. Maybe. Around about it. I don't have my tape measure here to...
Oh, I have one.
Look at this guy. Being a bad podcaster, creating dead airspace so we can verify a measurement. If this is not what men are conditioned to do, then I don't know what is. So we had approximately this much snow accumulation yesterday. So if we're coming back here, if you're coming back to listen sometime in the middle of June, just so you know, very early in November, we had a snow already. Maybe there's hope yet that we will have a fluffy white Christmas this year. Please let us know, either in person or in the comments or something like that. Are you more of a snow person? Do you appreciate snow when the winter comes? Or are you more of a, I survived the winter because I live here, and I'll try not to complain about it, but I don't really like it. Coby, where do you fall on the winter affinity spectrum?
So I believe that snow should not start until after Thanksgiving. It can snow like around Thanksgiving. It can snow Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And then during the week of Christmas. And then after the first of the year, I'm done. That's it. Sure. I give snow like 4.5 weeks to exist and then take a hike. I'm ready for spring.
So I'm of the opinion, because we know it's going to be bitterly cold and horrible for approximately 3 months anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be bitterly cold and horrible outside, it should be snowing because it's pretty.
I guess so.
Somewhat regularly. Not constantly, not all the time. That'd be a lot of upkeep and a lot of things to keep up with. We don't need to be Buffalo, New York or anything like that here. But I appreciate snow. I am married to a snow lover who is, again, the most cheerful snow enthusiast that you'll ever find.
Really?
Yes. Her favorite film is also Elf. So
I think I knew that, though.
Yeah, but that's understandable because Elf is a fantastic Christmas movie. Anyway.
I have to disagree. It is... Okay, I'll say this.
I didn't say it was the best. I said it was fantastic.
For most Christmas movies, I am a Christmas time watcher of Christmas movies. Except for, I'll have you guess. What do you think is a Christmas movie that I could watch over and over and over?
Is it Christmas Story?
No, but I'll watch that one like 3 times.
Okay. Let me take one more guess here. Are you a Home Alone guy?
That's a once a Christmas time watch.
Really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can watch the first 2 and still just like laugh myself to pieces.
The first one is much better than the second, I'll say that.
Yes. And then the Christmas Vacation.
That is
that one's so good.
I can watch that every couple of days.
Yeah.
For about a month.
It's so good. Is that your one that you
Yes,
watch?
yes. That is my favorite. Most of the quotes I want to say are not appropriate for the air, but fun fact, my dad collects the really overpriced Hallmark Christmas Vacation ornaments. And every year he gets them out and like there's like little buttons and they like read like blurbs or quotes or like a minute long section of dialogue, and then the ornament is decorated with like what's going on, and he has 7 or 8 of them. And then he also has, it's almost like a Christmas village, and so it has a bunch of barrel plugs and little modules, and you can plug them all in and you line them up and you can go do and you can push all the buttons in a row, and like he's got about around half. It doesn't actually cover the whole movie, but you can get about halfway through the story with as many of this other group of ornaments that he has that he's bought online. And every year, like on Black Friday or Grace Saturday or whatever, he'll go out to Hallmark and he'll go buy, the $17 or the $27 ornament and he'll push the button, and Bellamy loves to push the buttons and hear them talk. And we've got the one with the cat in the box, and I'm pretty sure it vibrates and it will like shake and stuff.
Like it's electrocuted by the tree.
Well, no, just when it's still in the box.
Oh, still in the box. Okay.
And it'll shake and vibrate, and
that's amazing.
It's
so.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea that this was another angle of the fascinating man who is Daniel Psalms. So, if you're listening to this, Danny, I am just impressed with your dedication to such wonderful work.
If you want to hear dedication, though, in college, one summer, he didn't go back home, and he lived in university housing with a bunch of his guy buddies, and they had like summer jobs and stuff. They were too cheap to pay for cable for the summer, so every night before bed, they would like put it in the VHS player and hit play, and at some point, okay. So they would watch it every night, and then they'd go to bed, and then they would take turns who has what parts, and they would try to recite the whole thing and go through the whole movie before they fell asleep.
Memorized Christmas Vacation in the middle of the summer?
Yes.
That's incredible.
And they were like laying in bed, like shouting across the apartment, like trying to like get through the whole story and tell the whole story while they're laying in bed, trying to go to bed.
That's amazing. Wow. They should almost get some royalties for that.
They should.
That's quite an endeavor. So, yeah, we're getting really close to Advent here.
We are.
We're getting on the heels of our last week in the parables, and then for Advent this year. Last year we did the songs of Christmas. This year we're going to do the gifts of Christmas, which are commensurate mostly with familiar with our Advent traditions, the different candles of, peace, hope, joy, love, all of that. And then salvation we'll do right after Christmas. So that's going to be coming up, and looking forward to that, and quite exciting.
So you're telling me that you're not going to give us gold one week?
No gold, no myrrh, no frankincense. It's hard to get a sermon out of spices and relics and,
precious metal.
So illustrations go a long way in the Bible, but I will reserve not trying to do that to myself this year for that.
So maybe you can remind me, though. The gold and the frankincense and the myrrh, that has a deeper meaning, more than just like a gift, right? Because it actually represents different stages of his life, right? And what he needed or of sorts.
Right. Yeah, his messiahship. Yes. So the gold represents his royalty.
Right.
What was the frankincense?
One of them is for his burial.
I think the frankincense is the priesthood.
Okay. And the myrrh is
the prophet, priest, king. And then the myrrh was for his coming death, because I think myrrh is an expensive ointment / spice that you would put on the body for burial.
Right.
I believe that's the correct order. And if I'm wrong, I apologize to all of you. Feel free to correct me in the comments below. I'm willing to take the criticism.
In the comment.
It makes me better. Yeah, in the comment. There's this comment bar, and you click on it, and you interact with us, and that helps us. So I'm looking forward to that. And what else do we have going on that's coming up? We had a really good Hamsgiving. Everybody came out and got creative with the many slain hogs that were given to come up with that entire meal. You'd be amazed with, pork has to be an ingredient, and you get like an entire carry-in of food.
So I didn't get to attend for various reasons.
Sure.
So tell me what you think was the most creative or like unexpected use of a pork product that you saw.
There was one. It was like like a pecan and sponge cake thing with pieces of ham or bacon in it, and it was seriously delicious.
Okay.
Kylie made maple bacon pancake cookies.
Again.
Yeah, this year. It's like the only time of year we make them, and so those were pretty good. And then there was another like it was like an oatmeal cake that was pretty delicious. And then I didn't even think about this, but a 7-layer salad. I love 7-layer salad, and it always has bacon on top, and then the mayonnaise, the peas, the cheese, and lettuce, and all of that kind of stuff. And it was awesome.
All I can think about now is Rachel's trifle that she made.
Oh, in Friends.
Yes.
Yeah. The meat trifle where the pages stuck together. Yeah. But no, it was fun. It was a lot of creativity, and had plenty of ham, which was good, but not too much. In my years as a youth pastor, when we'd do this homestead hangouts thing where we'd have kids and their families over to our house, I learned how to guess numbers of people and how much food to make, and I got pretty good in my estimating because I just did it so much.
So I guess I have a question.
Sure.
And then you can tell the story because you were closer to the action than I was. Would Allison Cherry's hot chocolate count for Hamsgiving?
So I had...
Allison, if you're watching, we miss you.
One of my youth volunteers took some of the boiling water where another volunteer made hot dogs for the meal at youth group, and she took some of the greasy hot dog water and put a hot cocoa pack in it. And I can't remember which kid it was. She went up.
Jonathan Lochner.
Oh yeah. Oh, that makes total sense. Jonathan, I'll send this to you, and you got to listen to this part because I'm embarrassing you in public. And
it's not the first or the last time.
I understand if you have to take revenge on me, and I expect it, and it's okay. I'm fair game for playing. But he tries this and downs the whole thing. Then she informs him of what it was, and he was just unfazed by it. You know, Jonathan, when you were in middle school, you were just like this joyful, powerful entity that was just not harmed or fazed by anything. I was amazed. Also, I'm pretty sure Jonathan ate not just like massive amounts of things, but I think I said a comment to him one time. If there was not a bitter additive in it, I bet you would drink antifreeze. And he said, I'm not picky. I'll try just about anything.
I have.
He leveled in the facetiousness with me.
I have accidentally, not a lot, but I have accidentally tasted antifreeze coolant before on accident. So in high school, the car I would drive was routinely good about just chugging coolant and antifreeze.
The Honda.
I'll put a picture of La Fonda right here for you guys to see.
She'll survive the second coming.
Huh?
God won't want to go through the trouble to destroy the machine.
I think she's long gone and smashed up.
She's smashed up into a little box now.
Probably, yeah. Rest in peace, La Fonda. Anyway, senior year of high school, I think it was second semester. It was one of the first warmer days we had. I got in the car and instantly, it's in the red. I go, uh-oh. So I got out and I poured some more coolant in it and closed it up and drove to school and was running late. And so genuinely did not have time to wash my hands. Went to first period and our teacher had brought donuts. It was a Friday morning and I started eating the donut and I had totally forgotten that I hadn't washed my hands yet. And I went, and I go,
That stuff's a little greasy.
I was like,
oily.
That's really sweet. And I was like, wait a minute. And so I went and scrubbed my tongue with the thinnest paper towel ever in the bathroom.
That small amount probably won't hurt you.
I felt a little sick afterwards. And my teacher's like, are you okay? I'm like,
I had antifreeze this morning. I'm going to die.
Not quite like that. I was like, I had to put antifreeze in my car. And I think that didn't wash my hands yet. He's like, you didn't wash your hands. That's gross. I'm like, I didn't want you to mark me tardy, so I'm here. I didn't wash my hands yet. They're washed now. You know, I that donut was really sweet. It tasted like antifreeze. The end.
So about 10 years ago, they started putting a bittering agent in most of them. So maybe you had some of the good stuff that was still left.
Probably.
So, are you the reason that they put the please do not drink battery acid and all this, that, and the other on the jugs and stuff? I'm just kidding.
No.
You did that unintentionally. But all the way back around, this youth volunteer, would the hot dog water with cocoa count as a pork product for Hamsgiving? Absolutely it would. And if one of you tender, God-loving people ever tries to do that to us unsuspecting, may he have mercy on your soul. However, if you walk into Hamsgiving and you go up to my wife and she was labeling all of the dishes, if you put, hot dog base cocoa, then, everybody knows what they're getting themselves into.
I think we should have Greg Mosier on to test it out and drink it with us.
Test that out while everybody else throws hymnals at you.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Greg told me this week that he's, I'm really enjoying your podcast. I said, thank you, Greg. And he's like, I think I've heard my name on here 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I go, yeah, that sounds right. He's like, well, maybe I got to keep going. So now every week I'm just going to say his name and just rope him into something. You're welcome.
Yep. He's an involved guy. So we always find plenty of stories to talk about. And that's exciting. So, Hamsgiving was good. And we're on from that. We've got a couple of things coming up. This week in particular, we, around Veterans Day, always recognize our veterans that are in the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Have a moment to thank them for their service and pray over them, and that's usually a really neat moment because we are thankful for everything that they do and have done in their lives for us, and part of the reason we get to worship freely in the place we do, and that's great. We've got Christmas Eve services that are going to be. We have an 11 p.m. Christmas Eve service candlelight deal here, and I will admit, when I first got here, because we're dads with young kids,
mm-hmm.
I said, "Hey, can we ever change that?" And people were saying, "No, you can't change it." This is a reasonable congregation that's open to suggestions. Why are they telling me no on this? But I'll ride with it. That's fine. And I came to this Christmas Eve service, and it was awesome. There was like half of the town in here. So I guess it's just a cultural staple that the 11 p.m. service at Cross Church is what people do.
Yep.
And that's how that's been. But before that, I forgot. I knew I was forgetting something. Sunday the 23rd, we have the community Thanksgiving service out at West Missionary Church. Travis Tackett, who is the new pastor out at Mount Hope Nazarene, will be preaching that night. There will be an assortment of different musicians and hymnody and worship songs and all of that. And then there will be a cookie social afterwards with cookies provided from all of the local congregations in Bern. It's a really, really neat evening. Awesome time to worship with other believers together as a whole town, kind of. And I'm just really, really looking forward to that. So what do you have on the docket? You've got something for youth group coming up in December, don't you?
Yeah, we're having a party at my house. That's really all I have on the docket right now. Mm-hmm. And today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. You're watching this on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. But tomorrow, Wednesday, Lee Johnson will be sitting right here, and we're going to be featuring a short-ish, longish. There's an interview happening tomorrow that will be appended onto this episode for you guys to get to know Lee a little bit better. I don't know him terribly well. I want to get to know him better. Mm-hmm. I want people on the podcast. Yep. It was a good thing to do. Yeah, he's our local. He and his wife Liz are local Youth for Christ directors, so he'll be great to come on here and talk and share
what they do, part of
Yeah.
the story. He's a really cool guy. So make sure you tune in for that interview after, wherever you drop this in the podcast. I'd probably recommend even at the beginning, just because hearing his story is more important than whatever shenanigans we've been
Yeah.
talking about with hot dog water.
I don't know if I'll ask him this, but I'm going to ask you this. So his name is Lee. Her name is, she goes by Liz.
Yeah.
It might be Elizabeth. I don't know. But okay, so they're Lee and Liz. Do you think the baby is also going to have an L name or go by an L name?
I have no idea.
I sure hope so.
I haven't asked. I'll have to ask him that tomorrow.
It's not on the list of questions I sent him, but I might surprise him with it. Surprise!
That's just being a good journalist, right?
Yes.
So, cool.
So let's get to know you a little bit better. We'll start off with some of the more serious questions to hear more of your story, and then we'll loosen things up with a few ones towards the end. So first,
Great.
let's start with an introduction, but with a twist. If someone was going to introduce you, what do you think
Okay.
they would say about you?
Well, let's see here. I think if someone is introducing me, they'd say that I'm probably a little bit extreme,
Okay.
pretty intense. I think they'd say I'm kind. I think that they would introduce me as a kind person.
Okay.
And I think that they might bring up that I came from Brazil just because it's an interesting fact.
Okay.
And so maybe it'd go something like, all right, we're going to have Lee Johnson on. He came from Brazil, is in the States now. A very intense personality, lots of energy, but also a very kind person. So I think that's how it would go.
Okay. So most of us know that you're married, but tell us the story. How did you and Liz first meet?
Yeah, so like I mentioned already, I grew up in Brazil. My parents were missionaries. And so most of my life was in Brazil.
Okay.
But my home church in the United States was over by Chicago area,
Okay.
in Hammond. And that was my wife's home church as well.
Interesting.
So her church was the church that sent us out as missionaries. And anytime we were back in America, we were in the same youth group.
Okay.
So I have many memories with her. So we sang together when we were 9 years old as a
Okay.
special, a little trio that we did. And then fourth grade, I did a school year. They had a school there, and I did the fourth grade with them. And so I remember her in fourth grade. Did
Okay.
not like her in fourth grade. She was way smarter than I was. She always passed her spelling tests, and I didn't. And I held a grudge. But then high school rolled around, and my oldest brother, Jeff, he was coming back for college. And so my parents moved back to the States just for the summertime to help him get a job and a driver's license.
Okay.
And during that time, Liz and I, that's my wife, really hit it off.
Okay.
So through youth activities, and then that summer, we spent every moment we could together.
Sure.
And that just launched. So then each of the following summers for the next 3 years, I was in the States over the summer.
Okay.
And those 4 years kind of became the foundation for we built a friendship, and that turned into a little bit more of a friendship, which turned into a romantic
Sure.
relationship.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm going off script here because we thought of this yesterday. So your name is Lee.
Yeah.
Her name is Liz. Is the baby going to have an L name too?
Most likely the baby will not have an L name.
Okay.
I mean, if you think of it, though, technically her name is Elizabeth.
Okay.
So,
I figured,
but yes, actually a lot of students ask us that. A lot of them are like, you should name him Leon or Leroy. And I'm like, I'm going to name the kid whatever I want to name
well,
the kid with
I have
my
news for
wife.
you. I have a much better name.
Oh, yes?
Lazarus.
Ooh, you know what? There could definitely be space. It's symbolic. It's got some rising from the dead. I like that. It's got some potential there.
Funny story about that, and then we'll keep going. So at Brad and I's last church, there was a family, and his name was Luke. Her name was Lydia, and they had Lincoln and Laney. And then they named their third son Landon. But for some reason or another, this is the first time I'm ever admitting this, I could not remember Landon's name. And
That's
so
funny.
I never called him Lazarus, but to my wife, I'd be like, oh, did you see Lazarus this week? And she's like, who? I'm like,
You know,
baby number 3. And she goes, oh, you mean Landon? I go, yeah. So
that's funny.
yeah, that's kind of just my default L name for people.
I like it. It's a good name.
Okay. So we know you were a missionary kid.
Yeah.
But let's walk through your faith journey and what are the key moments or turning points along the way?
Sure. So, as a kid, traveling around raising support. I remember one church that we had gotten back after a service and we were staying at somebody's house. And I remember walking in the door and I remember asking my dad, I was like, hey, are we Christians? And he was like, yeah, we're Christians. And I was like, I don't feel like a Christian. And so he sat down with me and we actually sat on the floor behind the sofa. I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
Okay.
And he talked to me about just giving the sinner's prayer and giving your life to Jesus. And I remember praying that day when I was 4. So then we continued traveling. We went to Brazil. And when I was 6, we were already in Brazil. And I remember it was before streaming and all that kind of stuff. And so if you were sick, we would put in a DVD of a church service.
Okay.
So our home church would put on youth conferences and they would record them. And so we'd buy those. And then whenever we'd sick, that's what we'd watch. So I was sick and my mom was sick. So both of us were staying home from church. So I put in the DVD and I just remember the sermon. In the invitation, the preacher was just like, hey, if anyone in the congregation thinks, and it was 4 students, that they are being called into becoming a pastor or a missionary worker, I want you to stand up and come to the platform. And I just knew. I was like, I would stand up. I'd go up to the platform. And I turned around to my mom, who was laying on the sofa. I was on the floor next to her. And I was like, I think I'm supposed to go up there. And so since then, it's always been this journey of, I've always had a calling towards ministry, as pretty much as long as I, really can remember. And so a key moment was when I was in high school. We had a camp in Brazil that they would do 2 weeks, and the first week was for those who were going to be more serious, and they were going to be camp counselors for the second week.
Okay.
So week 1 was an intensive training, and then week 2 you were a counselor over a small room. And I just remember. I was doing a Bible study with my room outside at night, and it was under just the most stars I'd ever seen. Maybe. And we just talked about the handiwork of God and just the movement within the youth that I was talking to. And I was, pretty much their age, but just slightly older. And I just remember God solidifying, like, youth is where I want you to be.
Okay.
So then that developed. Eventually, I took a 2-year associates youth ministry program.
Okay.
And that's the same college that my home church had. And once I married Liz, she was on board for that. And so right after that, I was invited to be a youth pastor in Bern here at one of the churches. And so I did that for a year. We did that for a year. And through that time, God really did a work in Liz's life, my wife, where she just started to study why. And we grew up in a pretty strict vein of Christianity that was didn't play well with other groups of Christians.
Okay.
So they wouldn't associate with you, sure, you're saved and all, but you just don't know better.
Sure.
And so it was some of those things, and God just did a work in her life. And she began to study and research, and it's a long story, but the short of it is, as she studied and we had conversations, it just began to foster something in me. And so we both kind of started to look into things and kind of decide, okay, I think that we're missing out on the broader vein of Christianity.
Okay.
And that kind of led us to the point where the church that we were youth pastoring at was no longer a good fit because me and the pastor no longer saw eye to eye.
Sure.
And so we were going to eventually transition out of that, but he made it easier for us and he released us from our duties.
Okay.
And then from there, that was the moment of if I choose to continue to follow Jesus and to continue to learn his ways and stuff, it's going to cost me my church, my family in a way,
sure,
because of relating with them, and all of my friends that I'd ever known were really a part of this one group. And when you step outside of it, you sort of get ostracized.
Right.
And so that was really this moment of Jesus or your family. And I remember in my mind the verse if any man does not hate his father and mother to come and follow me, he is not worthy to be my disciple. And that was this moment, I had to choose. And so I chose Jesus, very painfully so. And since then, we've transitioned transitioned into Youth for Christ and stuff, which is another ministry role where we're able to operate more freely into what we think God is calling us to. So that kind of brings us to where we are now. So
Sure.
I think that's a relatively short version of our story.
Yeah, and you kind of answered the next question, which is how you got connected with Youth for Christ.
Yeah.
And then also what made you, what attracted you to it, or, what made you want to be involved?
Yeah. So we got fired or released from our job there at the church. And then I knew, like I had that calling since I was 6. I'm supposed to be in ministry work. I got a factory job to pay the bills. Not fun. Didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I knew that I needed to. And I felt like Joseph just waiting in prison
Sure.
until his time. And I mean, it was less than 9 months. Like, it wasn't bad. I think it was 6 months. But I had become friends with Adam Stout. He was the previous director. And he was like, hey, I know you're hurting, but do you want to volunteer? Just volunteer, because I know you want to be participating in something. And I was like, I think I'm ready. And that just kind of soft launched us. And then we just basically didn't stop from there, just built and built and built.
Okay.
Until eventually Adam was like, you're going to take over my job one day. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then he's like, I bet you are. And here I am taking over his job. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So now, let's switch things up and
Sure.
let's have a little bit more fun and something a little bit lighter.
Sure.
So some of these are questions that I have asked Brad, my wife, Linda, Karen, and some people in the congregation.
Okay.
They're just silly questions.
Okay.
So what is something you absolutely loved as a kid, but now you just can't stand it? It could be food. It could be something like a hobby or an activity.
Something I absolutely loved as a kid. You know those Charleston Chew candy bars?
Yeah.
So they're like super sweet.
Yeah.
And I thought they were the greatest thing on the planet. And I had one more recently, and I was like, dang, I don't know how I handled this much sugar in one bite. Those things were intense.
Yeah.
So that might be one, Charleston Chew.
Okay.
That could be one of them.
I think Brad said bologna.
Really?
And now I give him a hard time about it all the time on the podcast. I always try to rope and bring bologna into the conversation when it has almost nothing to do with anything.
I loved bologna as a kid too. I haven't had bologna in a long time, so I am curious if I would like bologna again, or if it's dead to me now.
So if you were a superhero, what powers would you have, and what's your origin story?
Oh, let's go. Okay, I used to love imagining having superpowers as a kid.
Okay.
And so I grew up in Brazil, so it doesn't snow there, but I loved snow. And so I always wanted to have the power of ice, like controlling, making things cold, making ice, moving it around.
Okay.
And so, but then I was like, but I don't know. It'd be cool if I could have both. So I used to imagine a world in which I had a balance of like fire and ice, but I couldn't activate both at the same time.
Okay.
So origin story, let's see here. Ooh, okay. Little boy trapped in the desert. Hot regions until he finds an ancient scroll that tells him the path to be able to bring water, but it goes wrong, and now it's always frozen.
Okay.
I don't know. That could be my backstory. I used to play with stuff like that all the time.
Okay.
I like it. What was your answer to that question?
At first, I wanted to fly, but then I thought about it like, no, I just want to be Spider-Man. So
You know what? Spider-Man's a classic.
In some capacity, I'm bitten by a spider, and I become Spider-Man.
That's fair.
So what's a hidden talent that might surprise people who know you?
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't think this about me, but do you know like the cheerleaders at football games, they can do toe touches? It's where like jump in the sky, kind of do a split and touch their feet. I can actually do that really well.
Okay.
So randomly. I was at a football game with students. It was an away game. And I was over by like getting the concession stand, getting some popcorn or something. And some of the students were over there. So I just went and hung out with them for a while. And one of them was messing around doing the cheerleader stuff. And I was like, well, show me and whatever. And so she shows me the thing. And then I do it. And I did a perfect toe touch. And they were all like, oh my gosh, you used to do this. I'm like, I promise you, I've never done this before. And so now I actually have a few students that'll be like, do your toe touch, do your toe touch. I'm like, dude, it's lunch. I'm not doing a toe touch in here. Like, this is not the place to do a toe touch. But that's probably one of my most random talents that I didn't know I had until a little while ago now. So
okay, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. So I actually don't know how you and your wife met, and I was curious about that.
Okay,
so just The short end story of
The very fast answer is we met online.
really.
We met online. Yeah.
You got to give me more than that.
Okay.
I feel like we should insert that music from Jeopardy. You know.
We met on Tinder.
Okay.
We met on Tinder.
That's awesome.
It has a negative connotation
Sure.
in society. I like to think that God found me in my immaturity and brought Abby to me.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
We'll put it that way.
That's cool. I like it. That's cool.
Yep.
That's
So
very cool.
we've been. I forgot about this, and then she reminded me, not right away, but so like we'd actually met on Tinder once before, had started chatting on Snapchat,
Interesting.
and I don't remember quite why, but I more or less ghosted her. I don't remember why, and just like
Not a good move.
and like deleted her from my Snapchat and just ghosted her. I don't know why I did. I don't remember why. I guess I probably just wasn't ready for the commitment she might have been looking for. And then we matched again on Tinder probably 8 to 10 months later. And then, at that point I had graduated and I was working full time and, had disposable income and, was more looking for commitment at that point. And,
She stuck around for you. That's impressive.
I mean, we both like were with other people and talked to other people in between, but,
That's cool.
we, came back to each other, and then we'd been dating a month or two, and she's like, this isn't the first time we've matched. I was like, really? She goes, yep. And she like opens up her Snapchat and scrolls way down to, she's like, look. I was like, oh,
Yeah, that's real.
okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. When you guys moved back to this area, so not back to this area, you moved to this area for the church here, right?
Yep.
So are either of you from this area at all, or is Brad the connection there?
So I have family that lives just on Center Street.
Okay.
My mom's dad and stepmom have lived here for much longer than I've been alive.
Gotcha.
They're part of the bridge and they're firmly cemented. So there's no stealing them here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the area. I've been to Swiss Days before.
Yeah.
I'm familiar-ish with the area. And, but no, I'm not from here. And Brad's not from here either.
Right. He came in from outside too, yeah.
Our mutual friend, Jesse Frank, whose family attends here,
Okay.
Jesse told Brad to apply and kind of like, hey, you guys should talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And kind of helped Brad slide in and,
Yeah.
get an interview and that kind of thing. And then I followed Brad.
That's cool.
Yep.
Very
so,
cool. All right, fun question.
okay.
If you could make a video game out of any Bible story or character, who do you make a video game on, or what story do you make it about?
Okay. So I'll tell
I've got
you.
my answer too. So
I'll tell you this. My favorite Bible character is Esther. That would
Okay.
not make a very good video game.
True. I don't know. You could have a plot line for like, the first one where they're trying to kill the king and Mordecai.
Yeah.
There's potential there, but I see what you're saying.
It's a very slow burn story.
Right.
It's
more of a drama than it is a video game action sequence.
Maybe David. I feel like
Oh yeah, there's definitely lots of stuff there.
there's quite a bit to work with there. Or, yeah, I'm going to go with David.
Yeah, you could do the David Solomon, Pursuit. Like that could be a cool series. Where,
Yeah.
like, you have to hide and then like you have to sneak into the cave and stuff. That'd be cool. I would do David's Mighty Men.
Okay.
So in particular, there's this story of David's mighty men. David says he's thirsty. They're close to Bethlehem, and his mighty men like sneak into Bethlehem to get like a drink for him from the well. And David's like, bro, you guys risked your life. Like, that's crazy. What are you doing? And he pours it out as an offering to the Lord. And great story and all. But I just remember thinking, like, I think that would be such a cool video game where, like,
Oh, yeah.
you're just sneaking into town just to get a drink of water. And, like, part of, like, the thing is how much water is left in the cup by the time you return, and different things can
Yeah.
make you spill. I think it'd be really great.
Yeah.
So if any of you out there are video game makers, you should probably jump on these. They're great ideas. So
My uncle is.
perfect. There's chances.
I don't think he does much with 3D. He's very pixel based and
Okay,
text based. But yeah, he's a who lives just over on Center Street. He does. He's a computer programmer by
that's
trade.
cool. That's very cool.
And he has made some video games that he says aren't very good, and you don't need to play them.
Yeah.
But
It's usually the people who make those claims that, like, make really cool stuff.
yeah, so
That's cool. Very cool. Very cool.
well, final question: how can we be praying for you personally and for your ministry?
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned my wife is expecting. He's our first baby, and we're working on next semester
Okay.
of what that will look like, and so basically praying for wisdom.
Okay.
How do we plan? How much space do we give for Liz to heal, for baby to, recover enough to be able to be in society? So that's a really big one we're working on right now. So I guess that ties into both personal and
Sure.
And then also, my wife, she works a full-time job, and she does campus life with me. So she's
Okay.
got a lot going, and now she's expecting. And so just for her recovery, because, like, I'm going to be holding down the house and campus life stuff as much as I can while she's recovering. But just for a swift recovery
Sure.
is definitely, I think, the weightiest things on our mind right
Yeah.
now. So for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll pray and then we can wrap it up.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Father God, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you that Lee could join me here on the podcast and learn a little bit more about each other and learn some silly things too. Lord, I pray that you would give he and Liz the wisdom to know how to best balance life and ministry. I pray that her pregnancy would continue to be healthy and easy, and that the delivery would just go smoothly, and that no one will pass out. Thank you for this day. Amen.
Hey, man. Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of what else is going on in as far as church life goes. We do have the Right to Life workshop here from 9 to noon on Saturday, November 22nd, and that's open to the whole community. So if you're listening from somewhere in the region, you want to attend, those always go really well. So we will be hosting that here. I believe that'll be probably in the chapel or the fellowship hall or something. I can't remember where the location
I'm not sure.
You come to the building, I'm sure there will be some signage to help point you in the direction of where that'll be. Outside of that,
We have Operation Christmas Child stuff going on.
yes.
We need to get that stuff.
Get it in by 2 days before you're listening to this podcast. So if you can't read minds ahead or remember stuff from Sunday, you are just at a loss, and we're terrible for, not letting you know sooner, I guess.
Yep.
But all in all, that process is going fairly well. We got all of the supplies moved downstairs from the storage room, and we going to have it ready for people to be all equipped and all together, and it goes by quick. It's really fun
Okay.
to assemble everything after the service. It's quite a good time. So I don't think we have anything else in the realm of announcements.
The Colts won on Sunday. That was good.
Colts won on Sunday.
In Berlin.
Did they get free wurst?
Maybe.
Isn't that the word for sausage?
I think so.
Okay.
I know that the owner bought a round of beer for everybody at the bar the night before.
Oh.
And everyone's like, oh, she's the best owner ever.
I guess when you have billions of dollars to play with, you can do that kind of stuff.
It's just a goodwill move,
I guess.
Her dad would have done the same thing. It's not exclusive to her. He was Mr. Ursay was very generous with his money, and even more generous than what we knew until after he died. Things started to come out. He did this and he did that. He was very giving and very charitable. oftentimes at training camp. I never got one, but he'd walk around with stacks of $100 bills and just hand them out to fans and, just say, thank you for coming,
Wow.
thanks for being a fan. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your support. Here's $100. He just,
Sure.
here you go. And he wasn't like flaunting it around, but, just very thanks for being here. We love that you're here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And he's just handing out $100 bills.
I guess it's good to have good things come out about you after you die versus, a bunch of skeletons come out of the closet after you die. People in the public sector often have some of that. So I'm glad to know that he ended.
He had some skeletons. He wasn't perfect. No one is. He fought, his addictions and his demons,
Sure.
but that doesn't negate that he still did good things.
Yeah. And speaking of, people and messiness of people and condition of the heart and all of that sort of stuff, we got through the vine and the branches last week in John 15, and this whole idea of abiding in Jesus, remaining in Jesus. Remaining means not going anywhere else. How difficult is that in practice to actually employ? I mean, I found that it requires a lot of sacrifice, and it's something that I do fairly imperfectly. But yet, even when I realize that I've left the vine for a minute, I come back, and he restores my way. So, or were there any thoughts from the vine and the branches that you wanted to discuss?
Let me read through it one more time.
Sure.
We were in.
And while he's doing that, I'll go ahead and forecast what we're going to be in this week.
Where was this found? One more.
John 15.
John 15.
This week we're going to be at the end of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 to 29. The parable focus is going to be the wise and foolish builders. And before that, Jesus talks about, I never knew you, and a tree and its fruit. So we're going to be talking about the fruit piece again, and I've got some things that are already kind of rolling around in my mind and heart, and that I'm really hoping the Lord does for good as we explore the text this week. So.
I think the one thing that sticks out to me as I reread it is, there's a lot of reminders and, we'll say reminders of, let's see here. Multiple times in this section, starting in verse 9, I have loved you even as the Father has loved me, remain in my love. And then verse 10, when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandment and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Love, 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 love. And then finally, verse 17, this is my commandment, love each other, over and over and over, reminding us to love one another. And, I have loved you even as the Father has loved me, remain in my love, reminding us love is good.
Yeah. And I think remain is said 7 or 10 times. I said it in the sermon on Sunday, how many times it was put in there. But remaining in Jesus and expressing a type of love that is unconditional and representative of the type of love that he gives to people, those are in tandem. We can't give what we don't have, and if we don't have Christ inspiring us, then we can't love brother and neighbor and God the way that we should. That's why it's so critically important. All of these fruit illustrations, if you see a grapevine, it travels
Yeah.
from the main part of the vine. It goes out. Right? And I think there's a missional piece there that I didn't talk about on Sunday that I really probably should have. But those branches go out. They spread, and they bear fruit wherever they go and spread. But they bear fruit because they're linked all the way back to the roots of that source of the nutrients and the things that can help those branches go out and produce fruit. So
I counted in the New Living Translation on my phone. I counted verses 1 through 17. He says remain 9 times.
9 times.
I don't know. You taught out of ESV on Sunday,
Sure.
but
that sounds close.
But regardless, remain, and love, 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 love.
Yeah, just an incredible passage. John's Gospel it nails the heart of God so well in those particular scenes, and I'm just thankful that the Lord produced His Word in such a way that we can chew on it and understand it, and that He's divinely preserved that for all of this time. And I'm really looking forward to. You could spend a year in the Sermon on the Mount too, but I'm really looking forward to looking at that ending piece of it this week, and hopefully we glean a ton of things from it. And I'm just excited about God and His Word.
Yeah.
No matter how many things shift or change or go well or unwell or whatever life throws at us, God is constant. He is all-knowing. He is eternal. There's nothing that surprises Him, and the promises and the truth that is communicated in His Word is reliable. And that is the lifeblood of the believer, is to know the Lord God through His Word. And we are so thankful that we have an opportunity to do that with all of our people each and every week. So I don't have anything else. What about you?
I've got some things I'd like to say. Number one, you can't surprise God. And the thing that you said a couple times at College Park, and you said it a couple times here, but the thing I like to tell my students, not the past 2 weeks, but just about every other week when we were going through Romans, was, God factored your stupidity into His plan. Like, you can't surprise Him. Your stupidity does not outweigh or outmatch His plan and His sovereignty and omnipotence and all that kind of stuff. You probably can't see it. It's probably not on the screen, but right here on the whiteboard, it says His plan's already factored in your own stupidity. I tell my students that all the time. And I remind myself that. Yeah. That doesn't, and like I say to them, yes, your stupidity and your arrogance and your immaturity is factored into His plan. That doesn't give us leeway to sin and to do bad things.
Right.
But it's reminding you that, you're going to mess up, and being stupid is part of growing up. But, there's mercy and forgiveness there. Again, not an excuse to do things, but to remind you that, there's a million second chances.
Yeah. And I think the posture of the heart is so important.
Right.
We can't change our nature. But the things we do have control over, the decisive piece, the Lord can take us a long way there.
Yes.
He can empower us a long way there. And, tripping and getting back up on that journey with Christ is part of the ways that we just really learn and grow. It's part of the ways that he prunes and refines. I always think of Isaiah 48, verses 7 to 11, somewhere in there. I have not refined you as gold and silver is refined, but I have refined you in the furnace of trial, or the furnace of suffering, or all of these things. So there's nothing that we experience or that we even bring upon ourselves that God wastes. He did not waste Israel's time in the wilderness.
Right.
When God's people were traveling through the wilderness with Moses, even though they were a stubborn and obstinate people, God did not waste that time. He continually refined them. So when they came to the promised land, there was
I have some.
place of inheritance for them. I have a psalm that.
I have some thoughts because I just taught on Joshua and the walls of Jericho, and had to give a little bit of background and context for what was going on, and the thing that I had forgotten about, number one, was Rahab, and I think we kind of talked about Rahab last week a little bit. The other thing that I found after I was doing a little bit more deeper dive to finish off the lesson after we recorded last week was that I'm making an assumption here. You can tell me if I'm wrong. It does state for a fact that before they enter the promised land, they were told that they had to be circumcised because they hadn't done for 40 years. Is it safe to say that they had kind of slacked off on doing some of the things they had to do when they were out in the wilderness? Because I kind of get the sense that they had, kind of like been doing the bare bones, the bare minimum to kind of get by in the desert for those 40 years. Or do you think it's more of like, well, like we didn't have a good place to do this and we were worried, we were traveling all the time. And so we were worried about like, because like they talked about like, because they are camping out near-ish the walls and like they had to give time before they started marching after they circumcised all the men for them to rest because they needed to recuperate. So why do you think that they waited all those years to do that?
That's a really interesting question. I would have to read up on it to give a better answer. Maybe we'll come back to that next week. But your conclusion seems reasonable based on assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the conclusion, but based on assumption, that seems like a reasonable thing. That there was probably some measure of slacking and apathy. And there was also probably some measure of... But again, they were even back... all the way back in the covenant with Abraham. I mean, they were a nomadic, tribal moving people.
Right.
So, I'm just saying they're probably without excuse based on how that period of history went with them.
And then I have another question now that I thought about it. Okay, so Joshua goes off to pray and he like looks up and the commander of the Lord's army is standing before him. In the commentary I read, it doesn't really come out and say it, or it doesn't want to say for sure because we don't know for sure, but it makes the point that, this could actually be, the commander of the Lord's army, but it could also be the Lord himself. Who do you think that it is God himself, or do you think it is actually an angel of sorts? The angel's wearing like the bright gleaming armor and it's kind of blinding. And, the angel, or, well, we're just going to say that the commander of the Lord's army is like, take off your shoes. Like this is a sacred place. What do you think?
What did the commentary say again?
Let me open up my notes and I will read to you what I had.
The place where you're standing is holy. That's the same thing that take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is holy. That's the same thing that was said to Moses when the Lord came to him in the burning bush. So it's a manifestation of God's presence. We know that.
I did not actually keep.
I'm going to look at the Bible Knowledge commentary real quick because they usually have a really good...
I don't have the exact line, and you might be pulling up the same commentary. I'm not sure. I kind of withheld making that point and bringing that up just with like the kind of students I have. Like I want to tell the stories how they go, but I don't want to get in the weeds because I want them to focus on the important parts, not like the nitty gritty of it at this time.
Yeah. So Bible Knowledge commentary came from Dallas Theological Seminary. It seemed obvious that the next step would be the capture of Jericho, but since no divine message of instruction had yet come to Joshua, as before the crossing of the Jordan, he went out to reconnoiter the seemingly impregnable city. Was Joshua perplexed as he viewed the secure walls of Jericho? The spies reported at Kadesh Barnea that the cities of Canaan were large with walls up to the sky. Despite his long military experience, he never led an attack on a fortified city that was prepared for a long siege. So as we go down, Joshua 5:14. Okay. Joshua was no mortal soldier, as with Abraham under the oak of Mamre, Jacob at Peniel, Moses at the burning bush, and the two disciples at Emmaus. There was a flash of revelation, and Joshua knew that it was the presence of God. It seems clear that Joshua was indeed talking to the angel of the Lord, another appearance in Old Testament times of the Lord Jesus Christ himself. So yeah, this would be like what theologians would call a theophany,
Okay.
a Christophany, something like that.
I found the line in the commentary that I can read to you.
Sure.
So this is the Applied Old Testament Commentary. I think this is Thomas Hale that wrote this. Joshua looked up and saw a man with a drawn sword. This man was certainly an angel of the Lord, if not the Lord himself.
Right.
His drawn sword symbolized God's involvement in the coming siege of Jericho. At first thinking this was only a man, Joshua asked him whose side he was on. Neither side was the answer. And then the man told Joshua who he was, the commander of the army of the Lord. It's not suitable for us to ask the Lord whose side he is on, as if God took sides like an ordinary human. God does not show favoritism. The only suitable question to ask is if we are on God's side.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the context of the story, right? But yes.
Yes.
The manifestation of anytime there's like an embodied presence of God in the Old Testament, many believe that that was a manifestation of Christ before he was incarnate. Tends to be
okay.
A popular view on the matter. I would probably tend to lean that way on it.
So are we saying the Lord in a human form, or are we saying Jesus Christ, the Son, in a human form?
I would probably lean with what they said in this Bible knowledge commentary. It seemed clear that Joshua was indeed talking to the angel of the Lord, another appearance in Old Testament times of the Lord Jesus Christ himself. That's what I would allude to. So, chapter 6 and verse 2, the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho to your hand with its king and mighty men of valor." So I think that's the reference. Yeah, Joshua 6:2. Yeah, Jesus himself.
Mm-hmm.
Probably what I would tend to lean on for that. I would also say that when God took the rib from Adam in the garden, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think we can conclude that based on John chapter 1.
Well, actually, in the VeggieTales, it was Archibald.
It was Archibald. Well, Archibald Asparagus is the one who did it, right?
Well, that commander of the army of the Lord was was played by Archibald, and in his like British accent with his monocle still on, and but he's wearing he looks like he's just like a silver bullet.
That's amazing.
With a big old sword. Normally they don't have like weapons, but he doesn't draw it. But there's a sword sticking out like he's Link from Legend of the Zelda.
We gotta love VeggieTales. Well, hey, thank you all for coming to listen today. Thank you for taking me down a theological spiel. I love this kind of stuff. Hopefully this is useful and helpful for some of our listeners as they have questions that come up. And let us know what you're curious about. If you've got tough questions about God, life, Bible, ethics, any of that kind of stuff,
We're
please.
We're looking at you, Greg.
Yeah, Greg, and you have these good kind of questions, so please send them in. Text me, comment them, whatever you want to do. Just anybody who has probing or provoking questions, please. We love to chew on that kind of stuff. Helps us be, I guess, useful in trying to shepherd our people and continue to see the vastness and expansiveness of our God. So may you be blessed as you go this week, and thank you for joining. And don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. Is that?
Yeah. You forgot. You beat me to it.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say it. So I'll take the degrading this week upon myself, so I don't have to listen to you say it this time.
There you go.
All right, everybody have a wonderful week.